Alright, how's everyone doing? Little Bill Withers, courtesy of Dan Shep. Guy's the man. Access a Trader founder. Smart fucking guy, dude. Follow him at Dan Shep 55. He puts out those pivot levels from his, I think it's the PS60 system. But it looks like pretty cool stuff. Okay, I'm going to do Actg, courtesy of my man, Walk to the Cabin. At Walk to the Cabin, posted this today. Kind of late in the day, got me in a good mood because it was obviously not a happy day, I guess, unless you're like Mr. Short Everything, which I'm not. But this Actg is very interesting. So let's go through it without further ado. Monthly, wow, look at that. 982, I'm going to show you where that level came from, and it's very interesting, but 982 also happens to be this, wow, 2010-ish, I guess late 2010 high, where kind of all the mania started. So they've completely retraced this move from 10 to 47, and here we are. So, you know, it's a couple things I'm looking at. I mean, there's 3 pushes down here, so definitely have a 3-push pattern on the monthly. 1, 2, 3. It is trying to get above the monthly 8 SMA. And over here on the weekly, this probably tells the story a little bit better. See, these indicators are kind of all turning up. This is versus relative strength versus QQQ. We can change it to SPY. I almost said SPY. So getting a little bit of relative strength in recent weeks, and you can see RSI on the weekly turning up, MACD turning up. Okay, the nitty gritty and where that 982 came from. Here on the daily, I just kind of went back. And one day you might be able to call this a double bottom. 1, 2. So I figured if this is a double bottom, where would the neckline be? And again, I use closing prices with my trend lines and my support and resistance levels. So I just went back to this area in June, just early summer, and the high close here, 982, right there. And sure enough, if you go straight down here, what have we been moving around above and below? 982. And I think that's pretty cool that when you look at it on the monthly chart, that it's relevant 6 years ago. It's a 6-year-old level, so to speak. And I kind of love that you have the round number. That's always, having a round number around, for me, it always kind of adds a little spice, a little extra edge, because you know, round numbers attract eyeballs. People put their stops above and below round numbers, and that can accelerate any type of move off a given setup, I think. So even more interesting, you had an up close here, and a nice bullish doji off the 8 SMA. There's a daily with expanding volume. So I'm going to be very much looking to buy this. I would love to swing trade it if the market ever turns around, but for now I'll day trade it, maybe hold very small pieces overnight. Oh, the other thing I look at that sort of piqued my interest, I don't do this a lot, but I always peek at the fundamentals. you always say you're a technician, but it's good to know at least the catalyst or the general story of a stock that you're trading. But what caught my eye here, you have earnings till October 20th. And if I go, I'm on Yahoo Finance here. Key statistics, I always use the short ratio or short base, or whatever you want to call it. So you got 7.4 million shares short and a $50 million float. So 20% of the float is short. That's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things here. There's no debt, 156 million in cash, and it's a $500 million company. And then if you go over to analyst estimates, this is even weirder. Recent earnings history, looks like they've been beating the last 2 quarters, with a big beat last quarter, and revenue looks like it's expected to pick up. This is 16 versus 15. So obviously this stock was down for a reason, and they always are, and people were heavily betting against it. But based on where it is technically and all that we just talked about, you'd have to think that anybody who's been short this would be at least interested in covering here. So there's a lot of positives, both technically and fundamentally going on here. So that's the kind of thing I like to look at, particularly in a market like this. I don't know. For weeks or months, even a month now, most of the big stocks or the stocks you typically look at, they just look like the same chart to me. That's extremely frustrating. But instead of getting frustrated, I just try to focus. I'm trying to find spend more. I'm kind of spending more time looking for setups or being more particular and stringent with what I'm looking for. That way I can focus on a few things that might be behaving a little bit different than the overall market. Okay, so that's ACTG, Actg Research Corporation. And what do? They are patent technology. Looks like some sort of patent. Assists patent owners with the prosecution and development of their patent portfolios. So I guess this is one of those patent things. All right, so that's it. And I hope everyone survived today. It was not easy by any stretch. Okay, have a good night.